हरे कृष्णा। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। जमुना तीरावनचारी जमुना तीरावनचारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Subhadra Mai Jaya Sudarshana. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prajakacharya Ashtotarshad, His Divine Grace Abhajna Arvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prajakacharya Ashtotarshad, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की, श्री जगन्नाथ रथ यात्रा महामहोत्सव की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. तो हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं, दिस इंग्लिश और हिंदी? हिंदी Anything. So English. So English. Because this is these verses are a technical subject matter. Okay, 37, it's a long one. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunevadi Paschatya Deshitarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just to give a little background of this particular chapter, this is 2.9. So this chapter's name is Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. Do we have translation going on? Hindi? For those who want Hindi. Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. Because in the previous chapter, which is 2.8, we saw that there are some questions that King Pariksit raises to Sukadeva Goswami. So then we will see, Sukadeva Goswami is going to answer them. He says that the living entity is engaged in various types of, due to ignorance, the living entity is engaged in temporary varieties of material forms. But the Lord himself is always possessed of an eternal form of Satchidananda. So Sukadeva Goswami then he cites Lord Brahma's example to show that one can understand the difference by performing the process of Bhakti Yoga. So when Lord Brahma, he sat down and heard the words Tapa, Tapa, immediately he recognizes this as the Lord's instruction. And then he sits down on his lotus seat and engages in tapasya for 1,000 celestial years. Now what happens after that? From verses 9 to 30 we see that the Lord, who is very satisfied by this penance of Brahmaji, he manifests his personal abode, Vaikuntha. And then he himself confirms that it was he who had previously ordered Brahma to undergo penance. Those words Tapa Tapa were originally resounded by the Supreme Lord himself. And that penance is his heart and soul. So Lord Brahma, then he asks 4 questions so that he may act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities or victimized by pride. So Brahma is asking questions. So then Chatushloki, the most famous Chatushloki of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam comes in this particular section. The 4 verses before this one are Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Everybody should try to remember these 4 verses. 33, 2.9.33 to 36. The Lord first tells Brahma that knowledge about him is confidential and it must be realized by devotional service. And then he says that 4 essential points about himself in 4 verses, that is Chatushloki. And then by understanding this, one can be free from pride. So what these are, we'll have a short overview of what these 4 shlokas, Chatushloki of the Bhagavatam are. Because basically, the Lord explained the entire Bhagavatam to Brahmaji in these 4 verses. Brahmaji then explains to Narad Muni also. It is revealed, this knowledge. And then we are fortunate enough to have this. Can you put 33? We'll just take a short overview of these 4 verses to bring in context to 37. Aham evasam evagre nanyad yad sat asat param paschadham yad etacha yo vishesheta somyaham. Can somebody read, please? Loudly just read the translation.
The personality of Godhead who was existing before the creation when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, that what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead.
So here you can see why this is essential. Actually, we see this that there's a lot of philosophical repetition that will come. That means we will find that we know Krishna is Adi, is Anta, it's all him. But it's very interesting because there are people who also study Bhagavatam who are in Sampradayas, and the entire conclusion for them is abstract. Their entire conclusion is that it's an impersonal form of the Lord. They do not accept that Krishna is a person, just like you and me. We can have a relationship and we can have some exchange. We can have the 6 loving exchanges are there. For any relationship, 6 loving exchanges. Dadati pratikrinati, goyam akhati prichti, and bhungte bhojayate chaiva. These 6. So you can have it with a person. But the entire conclusion after reading and studying Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam of certain personalities is that the Lord doesn't have a form. Why? Because it's just easy. Impersonalism is just easy. Personalism is very difficult. Because that means you have to now surrender to a person. That means you have to be conscious of what his likes and dislikes are. You have to forget yourself. It's not, it is natural psychology to just not be so involved in an individual's life, to worry all the time, to think about what they are thinking, whether they are pleased or not. It's easy to be self-obsessed. So these are some ways in which the normal course of psychology results one to become an impersonalist. To clarify these aspects, the Lord is mentioning, is emphasizing to Lord Brahma, aham evasam evagre, yad asat, it's me. Beginning I am there, middle I am there, and in the end I am there. There is an example that is given in this chapter. Spider. Spider takes his web, he makes his web, and then there are some insects which come, they get stuck to the web. The spider has them as his feast. And then after that, what does the spider do? He winds up everything. Winds up everything. In the same way, the Lord also winds up everything. We also know that before, even technically speaking, we know that it is, before just like here the Lord is mentioning, translation, just give me the translation. Yes, so before the creation. So who was before the creation? Who can say? Before the creation. Kaun tha? Before Brahmaji, who was there?
Personality of God.
It was Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Yes. Actually Mahavishnu or Karanodakshai Vishnu, from him, then we all know that from every pore of his body, one universe comes out, and then the Lord expands himself as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, from whose garbha or navel comes out a lotus stem. No, did we miss something? Garbhodakshai Vishnu, right? And then the same Vishnu then expands himself as Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who is present in every atom of every element. So in this way, we find that before the creation, also before Brahmaji is primary creator of this universe. So before that also, who existed? It's Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So then here you can see Krishna is saying that I was there before also. And at the end what happens? The Lord, Mahavishnu, he breathes in. And that's at the end of the time period for all the material universes to be manifest. At that time, what happens? So many different types of annihilation are there. As we read the Bhagavatam, you will find partial annihilation is there, complete annihilation is there, like that. After a certain number of Divya Yugas, Manvantaras, Then the annihilation happens, and then again the cycle is restarted. But if you just take that Brahma's day is over and now it's night time, so then what happens after that? Brahma's lifespan is over, then what happens? So then, when Mahavishnu inhales, then all the other, all the universes go back again in his body. So again, who's remaining at the end of the creation? Kaun bacha hai? So again, it's Vishnu, it's him only who is present. Yes. You can see even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, who remembers that verse? Krishna says, I am present beginning in the end. Second chapter, very easy. Yes, what's that verse? Natyavaham jatunasham. Never was a time I did not exist. Never was a time, neither you nor all these kings. So in this way, Krishna is mentioning about how he is always present. So that is one aspect of this. The Supreme Lord alone exists before, during and after the creation. Only Krishna exists. So that is verse 33. Can you go to 34 please? Ritayartham yad pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyādatmano maya yatha bhasho yatha tamaha. Someone read the translation please.
O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. No, it has my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness.
So here we can see that in this particular verse now, the theme is whatever appears to exist without relation to the Lord is his illusory energy. So illusory energy, we all have a lot of first-hand experience of being in gross illusion, of being victims of the illusory energy, many lifetimes and even in this lifetime. So we see that, why? Because wherever, what is that shloka? Who remembers? Krishna says, Krishna Surya Saman Maya Hoye Andhakar. Jahar Krishna Tahar Nahi Maya Radhikar. So wherever there is Krishna, there is light. Surya Saman. Truth is light. Nescience is darkness. In our lives also, as we go ahead in this spiritual line, what is it that we are gaining? What is it that we are gaining? We are gaining realization. Realization of what? We are gaining realization of the absolute truth. As we progress every day, as we read Bhagavatam, as we read the scriptures, as we contemplate and introspect, and then we are also chanting Hare Krishna and performing devotional service. What is the wealth we are gaining? Kidhar ka bank balance बढ़ रहा है? So much work we are doing, so much service. Yesterday we saw it's amazing festival, thousands of people coming and all devotees we were observing. They're working very hard, working very diligently and dedicatedly. Right from the beginning to all the arrangements, and then even serving prasadam, we've seen that devotees were present everywhere, on the Rath, outside of the Rath. So much service is being done. So then where does all of this go? So all of this is actually, it is for our own benefit. What we gain is a wealth of realization, coming closer to Krishna. That is what we achieve. So then how do you know that you are coming closer to Krishna? How do we know that we are now going ahead on the path of Krishna consciousness? How do we know? We are going on the life path of how life is actually supposed to be like. How do we know? So we understand this as when we then read, contemplate scripture, then there are certain realizations that we develop. Realization means what? It means that now gale utar gaya hai. It's not just some understanding. Technical understanding may be there. Sometimes we understand some subject matter. Like for example, anybody who has gone through the miserable experience of going through school life, you will see that there are so many subjects that we learn, something related to science and mathematics. Some concepts are taught. Like in mathematics, some theorems are taught. And then you learn that, you understand that, then some sums we try to solve. So like that we understand something. When we practically apply that, that means that when one is, physics especially, you will find that these are some things that certain concepts in physics people apply, and then thus they manufacture certain machines. So that is some practical. So those people are realized about those aspects. All knowledge is Krishna. Veda itself is Krishna. Veda means knowledge. Knowledge is Krishna. Even material knowledge, which is Jada Vidya, is also Krishna only. There is no question about it. It's not that material knowledge is bad. Our experience is that the way in which they give it, it being non-Krishna conscious, that is what is bad. Not that knowledge itself is bad, or Jada Vidya is bad that way. But when Jada Vidya is fully disconnected from Krishna, then it is Mayara Vaibhav. Jada Vidya, Mayara Vaibhav. Why? Is because it is disconnected. So coming back, when a concept is thus applied and then some invention is created, you can understand those personalities have realized those particular aspects. This is something we see in regular life. Likewise, the spiritual subject matter which is there. This, when we internalize fully, then you can understand that this person has realized. Why? Because now it is coming from a platform, not of some technical understanding or some artificial imposition or attempted cultivation. It's not that. It's coming from a deep innate sense of realization. That means that this is who I am now. Yahi hai hum. That's why when we see great personalities, what do we see? That they are full of love of Krishna. They have love of Krishna. How do we understand? Through their actions, we understand love of Krishna. Just like, there are some very senior Vaishnavas, when they are singing Guru Puja, so then they are, for them, it is Prabhupada is personally present. And I personally observed that when they are praying, they are singing, they are actually singing as if Prabhupada is there, and they are full heart, singing with full heart, and really crying out like that. Being very conscious of the personality involved. Whereas we find that in the beginning stages, our mind is so restless that we have 1,000 things that go on in our mind. Shri Radha Madhav Bhagwan ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki. So that is realization, that when it comes from an innate sense or innate substance now, which is ours. So this is what we gain. This is what we gain in spiritual life. So what happens is that when Krishna is mentioning, now this part which is there, like these are a certain technical philosophical aspects, especially when we get into impersonalism and the debunking of impersonalism that is there prevalent throughout Srila Prabhupada's purports. You will find so much. When I was a student, I remember once I asked some senior devotees, why is Srila... I read Prabhupada's books, small books I was reading as a student. So I remember, the first impression I got, I said, what does Prabhupada have personal against Mayavadi philosophers? So every time he goes and he says, right, rascal. In the book is written rascal. It's written fools. What is so much Mayavadi philosopher? As we grow ahead in spiritual life, you realize the biggest Mayavadis are we ourselves. Bhakt बनने का ढोंग करते हैं, and then in our minds we are always impersonal. Why? I'll say because our Krishna consciousness, the personal aspect of Krishna consciousness, we should ask ourselves how much it is. Maybe that 5 minutes of darshanarthi, wherein we are actually taking darshan. And what happens throughout the day with all our thoughts and subtle level, even when we are in Vaishnava Sangha, even when we are in devotee association, how much are we Krishna conscious? Right? This is something we should self-assess. Because the real Mayava tendencies and impersonalism that actually exists within us. What is the definition of Shuddha Bhakti? It is Jnana Karma Anavritam. So it is free from the influence of Jnana and Karma. Jnana means what? It is speculative knowledge. That means when I think that by doing this I'll make progress, by doing this I'll get some benefit, that is Jnana. And Karma means that how I can enjoy, so the tendency is very deep-rooted. So our attempt at pure devotional service, our attempt at sadhana bhakti is all about clearing these jnana and karma within our being, within our consciousness, which is basically impersonalism. The extremes of this jnana and karma we find in modern day society in life. We see Everywhere actually, not just one place, everywhere we see. Different variants of jnana and karma, which are thus, when we perform bhakti like this, it is mishra. So it is jnana mishra bhakti, it is karma mishra bhakti. For most materialists, they are performing bhakti mishra jnana, bhakti mishra karma. That's what they are actually doing. If there is a little bhakti that they are performing. Bhakti doesn't only imply coming to the temple here. In different ways you find people who are at different stages of consciousness in the society. Now always the question remains, in our own contemplative exercise, is that where I am personally? This is something that we should ask. And how, in what form? Because you see, it's like this, doctor heal thyself. खुद का पहले जांच ये करना, मरम्मत करना है. Prabhupada explains in first canto Bhagavatam also, everyone has to fly their own plane. Doesn't mean that we become independent, it means that our own anarthas that we have to take responsibility for. And we should think that where am I stuck? कहाँ अटका हूँ? Just because बोला गया है इसलिए करते रहना है. So these are some things that we, in our process of progressive contemplation, we find that how many activities of bhakti have I really developed a taste towards? If not, then where are the anarthas, or where am I stuck? Where am I stuck? Now if I am stuck, then what am I doing about it? If I am not doing about it, if I am not doing something about it, of course, the process of bhakti itself is so pure and so powerful that just by being somehow or other, remaining attached to the lotus feet of devotees, tugging on to their dhoti, somehow, we will get, certainly we'll reach the ultimate destination. Yajeta purusham param, akama sarva kama va, moksha kama udarati, teverena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So just by that, yes. However, those who are serious practitioners may then want to increase the speed. They may want to go faster. Not only that, they may also, as we grow, then one also becomes more and more conscious of the deep lying anarthas which are stirred up in the process, just like a lake. Sometimes, you see water, not only lake, if you see just some water anywhere which is there, you see the dust and mud that settles down, and then it's a little bit stirred, you see everything comes up on the surface. And then you realize, अरे पानी तो clear लग रहा था, लेकिन है इतना गंदा. In the same way, our anarthas get stirred up. And if you just put a camera inside instead of outside, you'll find that inside our system, then there are so much of lust comes out, anger comes out, greed. Sometimes you start wondering, अरे भाई पहले इतना नहीं था, अभी कैसे बढ़ गया? Initially I didn't feel so much, now I'm feeling more. It's a regular question that some devotees ask, that I was not so conscious sometimes of Matajis, or I was not so conscious of my own anartha tendencies before. Now it's become more after I started practicing. Is it really working or not? So we must understand that this is just like the water is being stirred, so then all the mud is coming out. So this is a long process, anartha nivritti, and a gradual one, as gradual as we want it to be. So anartha nivritti is what we are going through. It's a long process. In a few days ago in this class, then we were mentioning Nishtha means that in Madhura Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says Nishtha means sunrise. Dawn of bhakti is Nishtha. 70 to 80% of anarthas are removed, that is Nishtha. What prevents us from progressing in bhakti, what prevents us from having realization of Krishna are anarthas. That's what prevents us. Sometimes devotees, they get really inspired that just by, when they hear stories of chanting, when they hear stories of somebody taking Mahaprasad, and then getting so much of mercy realization, especially the Shastra is full of such examples. So one may naturally ask, मेरे साथ क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? Why doesn't happen with me? मैं क्या गलत कर रहा हूँ? Where is it? Where am I going wrong? What's happening? So what is happening is not going wrong, it's just that the process of anartha nivritti is like this. So then what one has to do is that come out of the platform of the mind and do the duties of sadhana bhakti, of performing sadhana bhakti as a matter of medicine. And if we find that we're not progressing or feeling the way we want to feel, then the solution is what? Increase the dose. Increase the dosage. Because this process remains the same. Throughout the Bhagavatam, one of the major themes of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the glory of Bhakti Yoga over any other process of Jnana and Karma. So much of emphasis and stress is made on Bhakti Yoga, again and again. Actually, it is a theme that you will find in all 12 cantos. All 12 cantos have different themes. You know, there are 10 subject matters of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, right? 10 subject matters are there. Anyone knows 10 subject matters of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Sarga, Visarga. Okay, that's a subject matter for another class. 10 subject matters of Bhagavatam. So there are themes that you will find throughout there in each canto of the Bhagavatam. One theme is common, and that common theme is the glory of Bhakti Yoga, superseding karma, all other karma and jnana philosophies, or paths. That is common. So here, when we are discussing this Chatushloki, we find that when Krishna is he is revealing that he is the supreme to Brahmaji, then for us it's a question of whether we are realized or not about it. So in the progressive path of attempted cultivation in spiritual life, we find that we come closer and closer to the absolute truth. And to the degree that we realize the truth, then to that degree we have realized Krishna also. And that is what our goal is. So it may be information when we read, but it becomes realization by the practical performance of devotional life. Practical performance. Subah se lekar raat tak. Question we must ask is, am I properly situated in devotional engagement or not? This is the question that we should ask ourselves every day. Ye ho raha hai ki nahi? Since we have come on the path, embrace it fully. Adha adhura karke kya matlab? If we have some other desires, then we should try to see how we can engage them. How we can engage. Give up or engage, like this. So that's how we move ahead. That's how we come to the point of getting more and more realization of Krishna. In this chapter, Prabhupada gives an example. In this material world, it's like this. When the child is crying to have the moon from the mother, child wants moon, lekar do. So the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child, so that he sees the reflection of the moon and feels satisfied. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given to the reflection. He is given to Maya Devi. So we are like that, crying children, ye chahiye, wo chahiye, ye chahiye. So we are given to Maya Devi. So here we can try to enjoy this material world. Can we have the next one? यथा महांति भूतानि भूतेषु सुच वाचेष्वनु प्रविष्ठानि अप्रविष्ठानि तथा तेषु न तेष्वहम्. Read on, please.
O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything.
So there are a couple of verses even in Bhagavad Gita, even in Brahma Samhita, which again reiterates this particular verse, this particular statement that the Lord makes, that He is present in everything. आनंद चिन्मय रसा प्रतिभाविताभि स्थाभिर्य एव निज रूपतया कलाभि गोलोक एव निवसत् अखिलात्म भूतो गोविंदमादि पुरुषं तमहं भजामि. So here it's mentioned that tabhir nija rupataya kalabhi. So it's the Lord's form, His rupa, which He expands. And then He is present thus in every atom of every element, and thus He is present in all the elements which are there. Thus He mentions in this particular verse that He is there everywhere, but at the same time He is not there also. That particular verse wherein he mentions every atom of every element is Eko Persau Rachayitum Jagadanda Koti Yachak Tirasti Jagadanda Chayaya Danta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Here the Lord says that He is present in the atom, every atom of every element. Srila Prabhupada, he mentions in this particular purport, he mentions interestingly, he says the love of Godhead developed in the heart of the devotee is a great mystery. He says it's mystery. Nahi samajh sakte hain. Love of Godhead which develops in the heart of the devotee. Because he says that real fortune means when one develops, one gets, receives the knowledge through disciplic succession, and thus he now has the chance to understand the mystery of the Lord. And that of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Now he has the chance to understand. But how love of God is developing, that is mystery. It's mystery. Why is it mystery? It's because swayam eva spurati yada. Sevon mukhe hi jivadau swayam eva spurati yada. So it is revealed by the Lord Himself. Who can understand the mind of the Lord? Who can understand? What Krishna wants, when He wants, who can understand? And thus it remains a mystery. Can we have the last one? 36. Etavadeva jigyasam Tattva jignasunatmanaha Anvaya vyakti rekhabhyam Yat syat sarvatra sarvada. Read please.
Who is searching after supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly.
Yes. So one has to search for this. Search for what? Searching for the realization of Krishna. When one sees Krishna, one realizes Krishna, he sees Him everywhere. So that is the love of God. That is the mystery that Srila Prabhupada is also talking about. He's searching for this. Truth. Truth is so powerful, just like when the sun comes in the sky, it shines, it makes everything clear, illuminated by its presence. Fear is removed as soon as one sees the sun. Truth is like that. Truth is like the sun. The mere presence of the truth within the heart, as much as one gains realization. Krishna is absolute truth. Satyam param dhimahi. To the degree that we realize the truth, you see the darkness of ignorance is removed. To that degree we find a person becomes fearless. To that degree we find that all those great Vaishnava qualities, 26 qualities Vaishnava, they are all manifest within the personality of the person. Okay, so come to 37. Okay, Etan matam samatishta paramena samadhina bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karhichit etan matam samatishta paramena samadhina Bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karhichit. Please chant. Paramena samadhina Bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karhichit. Etat, this, matam, the conclusion, samatishta, remain fixed, paramena, by the supreme, samadhina, concentration of the mind, bhavan, yourself, kalpa, intermediate devastation, vikalpeshu, in the final devastation, na vimuhyati, will never bewilder. karhichid, anything like complacence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation, you can repeat after me. O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation. So this is the thing, pride is something that disturbs everyone. And we can see that in modern day life especially, it's just about the pride. And there was, recently we came across a person who was saying, why do people buy Ferraris? Why? It is absolutely impractical to buy Ferraris, the man was saying. Why? Because he says that in that car, you can't even fit a whole family. Why? You can't even fit, and practically, even around the world, there are only a few places where you can actually use that Ferrari for what it was meant to be. Especially if somebody buys a Ferrari in India, something like that, that is disaster. Because neither the roads are meant for that. So why does a person engage in buying such expensive cars? The answer is to flaunt or to show off because they have some money. So this is an example of an impact of what pride does. In this material world, we find that even brands that exist, people pay lakhs of rupees for worthless stuff like bags. If you go to airports also, you find that there are such expensive items, and people just buy as if they spend money as if it is water. And the reason why they do that is just to be associated with the brand. So it's the brand value that they pay for. But what happens? How are they going to enjoy that brand anyways? It's just that subtle satisfaction that exists when they are going to say, oh, this is Prada, or this is Gucci, or this is Louis Vuitton. They can just mention it. This is called Shruti Sukha. They can mention it proudly, ye hai mere paas. Mere paas bahut paisa hai. People say like that sometimes. Big bank balance hai. They can just speak it. Where is the enjoyment actually? It is not there. So just for the purpose of pride, so that they can show off, you can see different kinds of circles of association exist. One of our donors, the Mataji she was saying that she is a part of a solitaire club, wherein every person in that solitaire club has to have one solitaire. They have to have a solitaire either in a ring or in pendants like that. Solitaire is a very expensive gem. It costs at least 5 to 10 crore rupees. So they have a club like this of people who have solitaires and who are proud about it. There are many people who may have solitaires, but these people are especially proud about it, so then they have a special solitaire club. So like this, you will find that different kinds of association exist, and they are all based on different levels of pride. And therefore, immediately after revealing these 4 truths, the next thing that the Lord is telling Brahmaji is what? Just remember this, fix your mind, don't become proud. Don't become proud. So we were also very fortunate to get trained and also chastised by our spiritual authorities in different ways so that we don't become proud. So more and more this part has to be drilled, because you find that even Krishna doesn't like it. We find that even in Govardhan Leela, what did he do? He smashed Indra's pride. What did he do to Kaliya? Kaliya Daman is smashing of the pride of Kaliya. You find that Krishna is smashing pride all the time, because pride is something that is deeply infested within our system. The moment you do something, or even if you don't do something, even if we are merely existing, we feel proud. And it works so subtly that if you come early for a morning program, you will find मैं पहले आया था. It works like this. This pride is like this. For everything you do, मैंने किया था. So credit. And you will find people even in organizations, they are always fighting for credit. Credit किसको मिलेगा? Who will get the credit? It means who will get who can feel pride because their name will be announced. So you will find that people have this kind of strong tendency. We all have. This is strong anartha, pride. Prabhupada says only Puri and Muri can be puffed up, no one else. Only Puri and Muri. But you see how this pride works in our lives also. It is a very big, significant anartha which prevents us from making progress. Therefore, we find that the Lord's direct instruction after revealing the truth of the 4 verses, he says, fix your mind and don't allow this pride to disturb you. No pride will disturb you, he says. Neither in the partial nor in the final devastation. Imagine how much pride Brahma can have. Because he is actually manifesting all the universes, they are coming through him. Purport. As in the Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter, the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, has summarized the whole text in 4 verses, namely Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, etc. So the complete Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has also been summarized in 4 verses as Aham Evasam Evagre, etc. Thus the secret purpose of the most important Bhagavatite conclusion has been explained by the original speaker of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, who was also the original speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. This is a very nice word, Bhagavatite conclusion. Kidhar milega nahi aapko? These are basically some Prabhupada created words which are very exceptional, Bhaktivedanta purports. So you will find these are some words you will not find anywhere in any dictionary except here. There are many grammarians and non-devotee material wranglers who have tried to present false interpretations of these 4 verses of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But the Lord himself advised Brahmaji not to be deviated from the fixed conclusions the Lord had taught him. The Lord was the teacher of the nucleus of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 verses, and Brahma was the receiver of the knowledge. Misinterpretation of the word aham by the word jugglery of the impersonalist should not disturb the mind of the strict followers of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. You know, at one point even, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a great impersonalist. And he happened to recite that verse, Mukti Padesa Dayabhak, that verse which is there. So when Mahaprabhu, after Mahaprabhu gave him mercy, afterwards Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he became such a great devotee that instead of that word Mukti Pade, he was always chanting Bhakti Pade Sadayabhak, Bhakti Pade, no Mukti. He became so averse to even this conception of Mukti. So that is the impact that impersonalists can have when they receive the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So much. That they go to the other extreme of interpreting neutral verses also as Bhakti texts. Like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did. The Prabhupada here is explaining how people they take one word and they make it into impersonalism. Here we find person becomes devotee in impersonal thing also he will make it personal. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a text of the personality of Godhead and his unalloyed devotees who are known as the Bhagavatas. And any outsider should have no access to this confidential literature of devotional service. But unfortunately, the impersonalist who has no relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead sometimes tries to interpret Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by his poor fund of knowledge in grammar and dry speculation. Therefore, the Lord warns Brahma, and through Brahma, all future devotees of the Lord in the disciplic succession of Brahma, that one should never be misled by the conclusion of the so-called grammarians or by other men with a poor fund of knowledge, but must always fix the mind properly via the parampara system. No one should try to give a new interpretation by dint of mundane knowledge. You know, this is very crucial. You know, recently also when we were giving some session, so some people say that without Sanskrit can I understand? I need to learn Sanskrit, then only I can understand Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. They said like this, you know. Because that's the only way in which people think they can understand something, by understanding the language. But then if you go in that route, just by understanding the language, then one can make up so many different words, so many different meanings. Because each word in Sanskrit, you can have a different meaning, and then at the end you can have a different conclusion altogether. And therefore, here we find that Srila Prabhupada warns, saying that parampara, understand in parampara. Parampara se सीखेंगे, so not भटके नहीं जाओगे. No one should try to give an interpretation by dint of mundane knowledge. And the first step, therefore, in pursuance of the system of knowledge received by Brahma, is to approach a bona fide guru who is the representative of the Lord, following the parampara system. No one should try to squeeze out his own meaning by imperfect mundane knowledge. The guru or the bona fide spiritual master is competent to teach the disciple in the right path with reference to the context of all authentic Vedic literature. He does not attempt to juggle words to bewilder the student. The bona fide spiritual master, by his personal activities, teaches the disciple the principles of devotional service. Without personal service, one could go on speculating like the impersonalists and dry speculators, life after life, and would be unable to reach the final conclusion. What is an example of people speculating? You will find that especially those who are engaged in researchers, they are the closest who can come to Gyanis, research and scientists, and you will find that they keep writing papers after papers they write. Papers, it means in research, it's called a research paper. So they keep writing continuously and they keep finding, whatever they discover, they put it in a certain format and they keep writing, they keep speculating. And in academic circles, that is known as something very great. कितना पेपर निकाला है तुमने, कितना पेपर प्रिंट किया है, it's like that. So if they've written a couple of books, if they've written a few periodicals, if they've written a few research papers, then they have value. If they have not written much, then that's how the comparison is made in that circle of pride called academics. So that's, and they keep speculating, this not, that not. So the whole time it's just it's a mind game. They're just busy in a certain loop. By following the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master in conjunction with the principles of revealed scriptures, the student will arise to the plane of complete knowledge, which will be exhibited by development of detachment from the world of sense gratification. So this is a barometer. You know, barometer is used to measure what? Pressure. Like that, you have different measuring tape used to measure, let's say certain lengths or distances. How do you measure bhakti? How do you measure your advancement? The Prabhupada gives here. So, it is exhibited by development of detachment from the world of sense gratification. Gross and subtle both. How much we are detached from sense gratification, by which, this is how we can understand how much progress we have made. So, if we are still far away from that, that means that a lot of work is to be done. A lot of mercy is to be taken still. So this is what happens, because Jnana and Vairagya automatically develop. So, yes, the mundane wranglers are surprised that one can detach himself from the world of sense gratification, and thus any attempt to be fixed in God realization appears to them to be mysticism. This detachment from the sensory world is called the Brahmabhuta stage of realization, the preliminary stage of transcendental devotional life. Actually, you will find that even in your own family circle, previous circle, not current, previous circle, you will find that if your family members, relatives, they will only consider those devotees or yourselves particularly to be crazy. They will only say, "Ye pagal ho gaya hai." They will say like this. They cannot understand that this is out of genuine spiritual advancement that one is able to give up sense gratification. So why is here Prabhupada is saying that it is there, they are surprised. Mundane wranglers are surprised that one can detach himself from sense gratification. Because it's not possible. In ordinary sense, it's very difficult. You know, people who are addicts, if they are addicted, for example, to tobacco, you know, they have nice, very colorful, explicit pictures of cancerous, mouth cancer and oral cancer on the wrapper and sachet of the tobacco. देखा है? तंबाकू के पैकेट के ऊपर देखा है सबने. Now they have made it more gross. पहले नहीं होता था. Now they have made it more gross. उसके बाद भी इसका सेल कम नहीं हुआ है. So how is it? इनको मालूम नहीं है क्या कि क्या होगा उनके साथ? They know very well what's going to happen. Still, it's the attachment is so strong. You see the emotions they bind with certain objects like this. They called substance abuse. And then sense gratification becomes impossible to give up. That is why early the better. If early good association is kept, you know, anybody whom you know in your circle, as early as possible, if they are kept in pure association, then what will happen? They don't get contaminated. And that will save them later on. Because, you see, generally they say at 16, at the age of 16, according to Vedic culture, 16 one becomes an adult. 18 may be the mundane law, but 16 one gets the discerning or discriminative capacity at 16. So तब तक तो एकदम शुद्ध रखना चाहिए, without question. And even after that, Prabhupada at one place he says 17 to 21, one should just completely avoid association of women. 17 to 21. He says like that also. So in youth, if somehow or other one is forced to remain pure, then what happens ahead is that they will, when they develop the discriminative capacity, कि ये अच्छा नहीं है मेरे लिए, they will not have a problem because they'll have the strength to say no because they never did it anyways. But if one has been engaged in sense gratification, then to give up, very difficult, very tough. It's very tough. So here, the Brahmabhuta stage of life is also known as the Atmarama stage, in which one is fully self-satisfied and does not hanker for the world of sense enjoyment. This stage of full satisfaction is the proper situation for understanding the transcendental knowledge of the personality of Godhead. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam affirms this. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, in the completely satisfied stage of life, exhibited by full detachment from the world of sense enjoyment, as a result of performing devotional service, one can understand the science of God in the liberated stage. So that's why, you see, one of the reasons why our car is slow is because our situation is what? Not free from sense enjoyment. That's why it's slow. Here we can understand. One can understand science of God in liberated state. First we have to become liberated. You become liberated when you are following the regulative principles, chanting Hare Krishna, and you're leading a pure life. This is liberated stage. In that stage one can understand. You know, there is a practical example of this. This is Kushakrita Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, who was known as Crazy Peter. Crazy Peter used to lie down in the Boston temple. It was like a hippie. He was hippie. He used to lie down near the door. ऐसे ही पड़े रहते थे मंदिर में. And the devotees got so frightened with him that once they complained to Prabhupada. Actually, Giriraj Maharaj, he was the president that time at Boston. He complained to Prabhupada. You know, this Crazy Peter is crazy and lazy both. We'll throw him out. And Prabhupada tolerated. He said, no, just keep him. And then when Prabhupada came, he saw Crazy Peter lying down in the temple hall, you know, next to the door. Prabhupada came, he didn't even have to get up. He just lied on the other side and offered obeisances. You know. So वैसे ही लेटे हुए है. You know. He's lying down straight. When Prabhupada came, he just turned over to the other side. So these kind of characters. This Crazy Peter, Prabhupada gave him mercy like this, you know, allowed him to stay. And Giriraj Maharaj, he narrates this pastime. He says that after many years when he visited Boston, he saw this devotee who looked like a very senior person from the old 60s. He had joined, this whole story is from 1968. When Maharaj saw him again, that was in, after 2000. So he saw that the devotee is there, old devotee, senior hai, but he didn't realize kaun hai, who's this. And then this Prabhu came and says that, Maharaj, you remember me? And then he says, I am the same Peter, we used to call Crazy Peter. So and then Maharaj says, I am really happy to see you, still you are there. And then, so what's your name? So then he said, my name is Kushakrita Das. And Maharaj said, you are Kushakrita Das, you are the one. Because by then, see, in our lifetime we haven't heard or seen much, because Kushakrita Prabhu left this body with, he had cancer, so he left this body long time ago. But Kushakrita Prabhu, he was the pioneer in writing very many Acharya's works and commentaries. Translation, he became a Sanskrit editor for the BBT. And he got so expert that he was just continuously producing books, Acharya's books, one after the other. So now we have many great Vaishnavas who have written commentaries on different Acharya's works. But at that time there was nobody who did it. Now we have Bhanu Maharaj has translated and written so many previously, but nobody was he was the first one who did that, pioneered that. And not only few, so many he wrote, and book after book he was releasing. And he was not even charging any money for it. He understood his life's purpose was this. Such a significant and great contribution that he made, Kushakrita Prabhu. But who was he? He was that Crazy Peter. So how ignorance and passion can completely be removed out of devotional service, this is something that is practical. This we can see in the lives of such great personalities. Okay. In the stage of full satisfaction and detachment from the sensory world, one can know the mystery of science of God with all its confidential intricacies and not by grammar or academic speculation. So this is the difference. Our approach cannot be academic. It's not academic approach. In academic approach, people, they study very hard, they give some exams, and their success is based on the scholarship. कितना आता है? जैसे the academic approach in devotional life would be कितने श्लोक आते हैं या कितना subject matter आता है. But we find that actually devotional advancement is not dependent upon academic knowledge. Academic integrity is important because basic, if one doesn't have a basic understanding of philosophy, then without a Google map, how will you reach your destination? In the same way, that basic requirement is there. However, one should not confuse it with advancement. Genuine advancement happens when Krishna reveals himself in the heart of the devotee. And that you can see manifest by different qualities. So, yesterday was such a wonderful festival of Jagannath Rath Yatra. I personally like to congratulate all the devotees who are very enthusiastically serving in this wonderful festival. The altar, the way it looked like, my God, looked very extraordinary. How beautiful, bright, with all the chandeliers, all the bhoga offerings, thousands of people who came and got the mercy of the Lord. This is actually, it's a festival of the Lord, and we are becoming instrumental in this. In one of these purports, Srila Prabhupada, he actually mentions this, that our success is when we become instrumental, we become instruments in the hand of the Lord. That's our success. And festivals like this, wherein we are able to give out Sukruti to others, is actually indicative of becoming instrumental of the Lord. So I would really personally like to congratulate all the devotees who put in so much of hard work to really make this festival a success. And there's always something to learn from, so reflection is always something nice to have at the end, wherein we can see how we can improve things for the better, and thus we can try to do our best for Krishna, for his pleasure. And thus we can be sure that the Lord is pleased. Because when the Lord is pleased, then you see that all the spiritual desires also that there are, they get fulfilled very quickly. So in this mood, let us pray to Lord Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra to keep showering their mercy on us and keep engaging us in their wonderful devotional service and keep us attached to devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Okay, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for summarizing those 4 verses of Chaturshloki and then giving an elaborate explanation of the dangers of pride. My question is, when we compare the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam to the Chaturshloki Gita, in the Chaturshloki Gita, every verse is devotion, like Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, then Madchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Kathayanta, then even the third one, Tesham Evanukam Partham Aham Agyana Jamtama. So it's all bhakti, whereas here it's not so clearly, the Lord is not clearly talking about devotion, whereas the conclusion of Bhagavatam is meant to be to develop devotion to Krishna. So your thoughts on that?
We have to make a little study of what the Acharya's commentaries are on this particular thing. I would like to personally study them and see why it is like this. However, we understand the general theme of the Bhagavatam itself is pure devotion, pure devotional service. So when taken from that context, if the Lord himself is revealing to Brahmaji, the spiritual knowledge is like this, that just by some words, it's not that one attains realization. So it's not that, it's because the Lord, he reveals this to Brahmaji. It is revealed to Brahmaji. It is given. This is the beauty of devotional life, that it is revealed. And how it is revealed, it comes as a mercy and a blessing. It's not a mundane or academic knowledge. So therefore, when one analyzes or intellectualizes the meaning of certain words, it is not the same as the realization complete. Because realization is something that comes from within. It comes when the Lord himself reveals. So in Brahma's case, what he gets is the complete realization of Krishna. Krishna is complete. When Brahmaji, or for that matter any living entity, realizes Krishna, then what happens? Then the natural outcome of that is Bhakti Yoga. Natural outcome. So from that perspective, if we look at it from that perspective, then certainly it is non different. Every word that the Lord mentions is absolute truth. And Him revealing Himself itself is purely an indicative of bhakti. Another point to be considered is what were Brahma's original questions? What were Brahmaji's original questions? So when what Brahmaji is asking, is the Lord answering that? It always becomes the consideration. So if you find, because Brahmaji, he is confused, completely unaware of what is going on. He just hears tapa tapa, and then after that he starts meditating. But he's clueless. No beginning, no end, kuch malum hi nahi hai kya ho raha hai. In fact, it's mentioned Brahmaji, he goes inside that lotus, and then he goes and finds sab kala hi hai, andhera, kuch nahi samajh mein aa raha hai. So he was confused about what he has to do. So, and who is he? Identity crisis. Whereas we find that in Bhagavad Gita, so the Chatushloki in the Bhagavad Gita is basically, when Krishna is giving this knowledge of, it is in the heart of the Gita, which is Bhakti Yoga, in the middle section, which is basically the essence, wherein Krishna has already built up all the other yogas, and he is now instructing Arjuna what exactly his duty is. And then he's giving different stages and levels. Whereas in Chatushloki here, Bhagavatam, which is basically an answer to Brahmaji, and here we find Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport also that Brahma is a representative of a living entity like all of us. So the Lord is giving all of us this information. And what is that information? It is basically that now Brahma knew already what he has to do, that he had to engage. He did already. Tapa he did. And what he was desirous of the realization of Krishna. The realization. Who is he? Identity kya hai? Kaun hu main? Kuch malum nahi. And what is Krishna doing? He is giving him exactly that. So even from that perspective, we find that in this way, the Lord answers Brahma's questions. And because they are directly pertaining to him, we find that this becomes an essence. Although we may try to find the word bhakti where it is. It's not there. Bhakti is not, because he did that already. So in Bhagavatam we find here that this is the realization that Brahma achieves, or Brahma, he receives this or is awarded this realization after the performance of Bhakti Yoga, whereas in Bhagavad Gita we find that Krishna is instructing Arjuna to perform. And therefore we find that Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study, and then we find Bhagavatam is postgraduate study.
Thank you. So basically it will be interesting to know why because the acharyas have termed this as Chaturshloki, right?
Chaturshloki, correct.
So the third canto, Kapila Dev also over so many chapters instructs Devahuti. Krishna himself instructs Uddhav. So as you said that in the Gita, in the mature stage of the Gita, those 4 verses were chosen as Chaturshloki. So why not something from the 11th canto Uddhav Gita? So it will be interesting to know why these 4 verses are dubbed as Chaturshloki.
Certainly. We should go through Sridhar Swami's commentary and what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says about this. Certainly. Okay. Any other question or comment? All right. Yes, Prabhu.
Similarly, in Bhakti, also we are trying to do Mangalarti, then Japa, this, then. While doing Japa, we may be thinking, some seva is there and like that. How to do that Bhakti with hungry,
Do the Bhakti with hunger.
Yeah. So.
Hunger for prasadam or hunger for...
No, hunger, I mean like...
For advancement.
Yeah, for advancement, yeah.
How to perform Bhakti with a desire for advancement, like that.
Yeah.
Actually, Rupa Goswami says in this that what we need is greed. We need to develop greed. It is to be cultivated. It's like this. When the mind wants something, that time you don't think twice. Chahiye matlab chahiye. It's like that. Dil mange more. That's how it works. Chahiye matlab, how it is, how stubborn, obstinate the mind gets. That's why Krishna terms the mind as obstinate in Gita itself, right? So we find that when the mind wants something, when it is desirous, to kuch bhi karke achieve kar lega. It's like that. So our process of devotional life is a conscious cultivation of this desire to attain Krishna. Unless until one has that, how will one get Krishna? So our whole process of sadhana bhakti, wherein we perform rules and regulations, is all meant so that we come up to the stage where we can single-pointedly desire Krishna. That is exactly the goal. So your question is exactly what we need to cultivate this lifetime. Because Krishna fulfills all desires anyways. So if you just desire strongly enough, he will fulfill. So Rupa Goswami says that if there is one thing that we should all hanker for is greed, develop is greed. He says greed for Krishna consciousness. Greed matlab kya chahiye hi chahiye. If that is not there, then then basically we've laxed out. So that's the whole thing. He says that if there is any place where Krishna consciousness is available, then one should purchase it without delay. Jidhar milta hai, jidhar vikri hota hai, jidhar bik raha hai, immediately purchase, Rupa Goswami says. So what happens with that? You purchase means you get bhakti. That's what we want. So this greed. So a very simple answer to this question, how do you develop greed? Greed is a better word, as our acharyas say, than hunger. Hunger can mean prasadam also. So of course, hunger for prasadam is all good, but greed. So how do you develop this greed? So this development of greed, just be with those who have greed. Very simple process. Being with those who have greed. So then automatically we are also desirous of advancement. And we can very easily make out, kisko bhakti chahiye, kisko bagi sab chahiye. It's very easy. Right? So like that. And of course, you give yourself good sangha by developing good intelligence by shastric study. So that is one more way. So sangha is the answer. Shraddha to prema is only a function of sangha. That's all. Okay, so we'll end here. Granthra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Radha Madhav Bhagavan ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.